Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We are on the record. Today is Monday, the 9th day of November 2020. This is a municipal caucus of the Jersey City Municipal Council. An effort to adhere to social distancing protocols and best practices imposed by the city and state authorities. The city of Jersey City has canceled all public meetings and closed non-essential services as of March 16, 2020 until further notice. As a result, this council caucus will be held virtually as a video conference with public access. We had a scheduled 4 p.m. start. The clock on my computer is showing 4:02 p.m. May I have a roll call for the commencement of this caucus? Councilperson Ridley.
Here.
Councilperson Prinzeri.
Here.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Here.
Councilperson Saleh.
Not here yet.
Okay. Councilperson Solomon will not be joining us. He's feeling a little ill, so he will not be here for the meeting tonight. Councilperson Robinson.
Not here yet.
Yep. Okay. Councilperson Lavaro.
Here.
Councilperson Rivera.
Here.
And Council President Waterman.
Here.
Alrighty, we have 6 members in attendance at 4:02 p.m. In addition, at its time of its preparation, the agenda of this meeting was similarly disseminated on Thursday, November 5th, 2020 at 12 p.m. to the mayor, council, business administrator, and the newspapers, and posted on the city's website so I can certify as to our total compliance with the Sunshine Law. Any council member that's joining us that was not called, if you can just please send me a text or just give me a little nod, let me know that you're here, and then we will mark you present at the time designated. All right, we're going to take it right from the top, unless Council President, you wish to.
No, that's it. Take it from the top.
Very
Council
good.
President,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, may I ask a question of the city clerk?
Sure.
Sean, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I just wanted to follow up. I haven't checked my emails today. Any progress on that other matter? And I'm happy to just kind of expound on it for members of the council as well as the administration and the viewing public. We all received a notice regarding some regulations regarding virtual public meetings, and there was some additional regulations allowing for written testimony to be entered into the record and so forth around that. And I wanted to ask, I had reached out to Sean just asking about kind of if we were implementing that and whether that had to be implemented at this point and what the, what was the procedure around that at this point?
So I didn't send my response to you. I was just waiting on one last portion of it. If I can have John Hallinan chime in on it, we can discuss it if you want to have a discussion in an open form, or you rather me just send the email to you?
I think it's important because obviously this is a public meeting, and if the guidance is supposed to be in effect already, then and I'm just speaking openly about it, which is just that if it's supposed to be in effect, then we haven't effectuated it. So it calls into question the kind of the meetings themselves, the validity of them.
John, go ahead.
Want me to speak on this?
Yeah, John.
Yeah, go ahead, speak on it. So I don't know.
Right. All right. So I believe what the councilman is referring to is the bulletin that was circulated by the Department of Community Affairs. And it goes through a list of things that public meetings that are going to be held remotely need to address. And specifically, it talks about the possibility of allowing text messages and communications such as that, electronic communications, to be read into the record out loud, or at least to allow people to participate in such a way. And I'm just bringing up some of what I've written on this already. And I just want to make sure I'm speaking about the same thing, Councilman Lavaro. This is in reference to section 5:39.14, section F of the new regulations. Is that correct?
I'm not sure about the reference, but
that's correct, John.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, it talks about, it says the first clause says a local public body holding a remote public meeting shall allow members of the public to make public comment by audio or by audio and video if the remote public meeting is held over both audio and video during the meeting. Now, we operate via Teams, and as we all know, that people are able to call in, and that's what they have been doing. And they're also allowed to participate through the live Q&A, which I don't know how, the government doesn't specify exactly what types of platforms you're supposed to use, but this is what Teams allows us to do. And I would argue that clearly the live Q&A section is essentially what the government means when they talk about allowing people to text into a meeting. They're literally writing in a thought, and some people want to call in, which they do, and some people just would rather type in whatever the thoughts they have, and they are answered in real time, either by the council members or by the clerk staff, depending on the nature of the question. So I think we are clearly in full compliance with that. The second clause, it says, in advance of the remote public meeting, the local public body shall allow public comments to be submitted to the official responsible for creating the meeting agenda by electronic mail and in a written letter by a reasonable deadline. And again, we have the live Q&A, which that feature, I believe, does satisfy what the regulations do require. Let's see here. The third clause says the local public body shall have the discretion to accept text-based public comment received during a remote public meeting. Again, that is what I believe our platform allows for already for the live Q&A section. So that is essentially the new regulations that have been imposed, and there appear to be for whatever reason, a sunset provision on this. It's supposed to become effective in September of 2020, and it's supposed to sunset in November 23rd, 2020, according to that bulletin. So it would appear to me, at least, and again, I am not an expert in these types of platforms. This is the platform that IT has deemed most consistent with our needs, and that's what we've been using. And it seems as though all the features that are required of us are required to be included in the public meetings are done via these Teams platforms. Now, I don't know if there's going to be any further regulations or clarifications issued by DCA about this, but it would seem to me, and again, I'm no longer serving in the capacity as a municipal attorney, but it seems to me the platform that we are using does satisfy the requirement that people are allowed to present electronic communications, text messages, if you will, via this platform. So until someone tells us otherwise, or until DCA tells us the Teams platform is not sufficient to satisfy these regulations, it appears as though we are.
Okay. All right.
And John, just to piggyback up on it, the notice that I sent to all the council members and all the directors, they're looking for some public input or input from the elected officials as well, up until, I believe, November 18th, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, that's correct, yeah. And I just want to add, as an aside, the text message provision they're referring to would seem to be very difficult to accomplish in any other way than what we are doing. I don't know how else people going to text one council person and then have other council people, share it and then read. How else would it be done except by the way we're doing it? So that's why it seems though we are at least, certainly we're consistent with the spirit of the law. And I don't know if DCA has feelings about whether or not we're consistent with the letter of the law, but it seems as though we are.
Okay. All right, then, Rolando, you have another question?
Just as a follow-up, I mean, there was and I don't have the regulations in front of me, my apologies, but there was a provision in there that suggested that the public had to be notified of this written provision and a deadline to be set to submit such comments, right? Do we comply with that provision to provide people with a way in which to, the way I read it, it was in advance of the meeting, not at the meeting itself.
Right.
That there was some sort of notice provision that needed to be done in advance of the meeting. In order for,
we advertise the meetings and we have the agendas posted usually on the Thursday or Wednesday prior to the actual council meeting. And if a member of the public cannot be present at a meeting, they know that they can either submit their comments in writing directly to me, or they can even submit their comments to another member of the public, which we've had in a couple of the public speakers that came up, and they read their public comment of another person, another friend of theirs, into the record for them. So
I would dispute that, Sean. So I don't know that people of the public know that they can submit written testimony that would be, which according to the regulations would be read into the record, right? That's what I recall from the reading of the regulations, that the actual testimony would be read into the record.
But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and John, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that at the council president's discretion?
Correct. I know if it's at my discretion, I know anyone that submits something, I always tell Sean to read it. So I don't, anything that I receive.
Yeah, so the comments, it says a local public body may pass over duplicate written comments. However, each duplicate comment should be noted for the record with the content summarized. Aside from people posting on GovQA or people who have written in, and I don't know how many people have, it seems like there is sufficient notice of these meetings. We've certainly been here till the wee small hours. People are obviously participating. Right. If there have been people who tried to write something in and it wasn't read into the record, they haven't brought it to anyone's attention. Certainly, no one has been certainly tried to stop anyone from doing it. It's just I don't know if people. But
they wouldn't, with all due respect, they wouldn't know to bring it to someone's attention if they didn't know that they could submit it in writing in advance of the meeting. The way I read the regulations is that they could, if they have to be notified in advance, that they could write something into the write something to be submitted to be read into the record. Right.
I believe that is part of our council rules and regulations. Even when we had live meetings, the members of the public can submit public comment, and I believe it's in the code, if I'm not mistaken, John. If you can double check us on that.
I could do that. Let me, if it's helpful, I did read the first 3 clauses of this, and I can read the entire subsection here, which may give some clarity on this. Public comments submitted before the remote public meeting, electronic mail, or by written letter shall be read aloud and addressed during the remote public meeting in a manner audible to all meeting participants and the public. If the local public body imposes a reasonable time limit on public comments, where permitted by law, the same limits can be placed on the reading of the written comments. Each comment shall be read from the beginning until the time limit is reached. A local public body may pass over duplicate written comments. However, each duplicate comment shall be noted for the record with the content summarized. If the local public body elects to summarize duplicative comments, the local public body must not summarize certain duplicative comments while reading other duplicative comments individually. I'm not sure if there's anything here that says that we have to advertise, in addition to advertising meetings, that we have the ability to have people write things in and be read into the record.
Is this something that we're voting on today? No?
No. He just he sent them an email. He sent the email that he wanted to question. So, John, just follow up if there's more questions that Councilman Navarro have. That's all.
I just want to share. I just want to share before we go, for the sake of the bingo game. Listen. So my son is having surgery as we speak. So I'm going to be in and out just in case you see this chair open. Again, just so that, no one says anything negative. And then on Thursday, he will have a second procedure. And I just want it to be on the record so I don't win that bingo game. So, just on Thursday, I will be in and out as well again, and there's a possibility that I might leave on Thursday, just to put that on the record, okay?
Okay. All right, Sean, take it from the top.
Sure, and just for the record, I'm going to mark Councilperson Soleil present at 4:04 p.m. And Councilperson Navarro, we will formally respond to your email in written form as well.
All right, let's move on.
Okay, so item 3.1, City Ordinance 20-098, An ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 3, Parking, Standing and Stopping, Section 332-22, no parking at any time on 16th Street. Item 3.2, City Ordinance 20-099, an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 9, Parking for the Disabled, Sections 332-29, Parking Manual, and Section 332-68, Parking for the Disabled of the Jersey City Code, designating, amending, and/or repealing a reserved parking space for the disabled at various locations throughout the city. Does any member of the council have any questions on either items 3.1 or 3.2? Okay, hearing none. Item 3.3, City Ordinance 20-100, an ordinance of the City of Jersey City amending Chapter 260 Rent Control. Number 1, imposing a rent increase freeze on units subject to municipal regulation excluding owner-occupied homes with 2 to 4 units of housing. And number 2, prohibiting any collection of a penalty for late payment of rent as a result of the current public health emergency declared by the governor. Any questions?
Yeah, if I could just say something, Council President?
Sure.
Sure. So this ordinance is what was in the past introduced by Councilman Solomon, and was originally introduced and then renewed by Councilman Solomon, and then it expired again. We're still in the middle of COVID, and now we're in the second wave. In fact, well, actually, I won't talk about people's personal business, but we're seeing a rise and an uptick in the numbers, and just recently, Governor Murphy just imposed restrictions on bars and restaurant closures again to 10 p.m. So you know, we see that we're at our highest levels nationwide, with I think it was last time I saw over 120,000 cases on a daily basis, the highest rates ever, and so you know, with you know, while we're going to see a change in Washington come January 20th, until then we can anticipate kind of more of the same, I think, as it pertains to this. Unfortunately, it's not a laughing matter, frankly, but it's and so again, as more closures, you'll see more business, potentially more, again, kind of reductions in employment, and obviously folks have been struggling and challenged with paying rent as is, and so this just kind of extends the rent freeze. Again, it does not in any way suggest that anybody can forego paying rent. It just prevents a rent freeze or penalties and the accumulation of penalties during this period. Only during this period up till through March 15th, and that date coincides. We kind of picked that date because it coincides with the governor's latest executive order about public utilities shutoffs, a moratorium on utility shutoffs through March 15th. The last thing I'll say is that it's going to be amended, and that would like to amend it to make it retroactive again, because we're going to have a gap in time here, because the original provisions have already expired, because I think they expired at the beginning of November. So I don't know if Toledo my aide had already made that update to it. And I just kind of introduced this at this point because I realized that it expired, and Councilman Solomon had quite a bit on his plate, it seemed, at the time. So I just asked him if I should step in at this point to re-up on it. So asking for your support again for that, and if folks, I know folks had concerns about kind of the indefiniteness of the through a state of emergency. Well, that would be kind of my desire, but this does have a timeline. Ending time on March 15th to kind of revisit again. Kind of hopefully we're in a better place by then. And happy to hear other people's comments on it, because I think just wanting to get something passed that will continue to provide people relief.
Okay, I think the council pretty much is in agreement. Anybody else want to say anything? We see the importance of this. Okay.
Okay.
Anybody else want to say something? Go ahead, Mira.
This is just kind of an aside, because I know that I've also received calls from landlords, in particular ones that have 2 to 4 and 2 to 5 family. I had read in the paper today that the county is working with the waterfront project to assist property owners and small landlords with assistance. So if there are property owners that are starting to fall behind in mortgage payments, please do reach out to the waterfront project. And that's just all I want to add, because that is the other part of this conversation is, you know, making sure that also people can keep their buildings so they can keep their tenants in their home. So we just need to make sure that we're, you know, continuing to look at this as holistically as possible. But yeah, just so everyone is protected as best they can be.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, Sean.
Okay. On to our second reading ordinances. Item 4.1, City Ordinance 20-094, refunding bond ordinance of the City of Jersey City and the County of Hudson, New Jersey, providing for the refunding of all or a portion of certain outstanding bond issues of the city, appropriating an amount not exceeding $21,300,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $21,300,000 general obligation refunding bonds of the City of Jersey City for financing the cost thereof. Any questions? Okay, hearing none. Item 4.2, City Ordinance 20-095, an ordinance amending Chapter 160, Fees and Charges, Section JJ, Streets and Sidewalks, and Chapter 296, Streets and Sidewalks, Article 12, Sidewalk Cafes, to establish new regulations for sidewalk cafes to allow the sidewalk cafes to operate year-round. Any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. For item 4.3, City Ordinance 20-096, an ordinance by the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City accepting from 900 Garfield LLC and the Jersey City Redevelopment Agency dedications of property for inclusion in Garfield Avenue. Any questions or comments?
Is there someone here to speak on this?
It may not be. This is the second readings, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Normally, if we don't request, sometimes they don't be there because of time. All right.
I'll just ask offline.
Okay. Go ahead, Sean.
Okay. Item 4.4, City Ordinance 20-097, an ordinance of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City adopting the Laurel Saddlewood redevelopment plan. Any questions or comments?
I'll make some comments if I know Councilman Solomon's not here. I'm just going to reiterate, and I'll be very brief. You can time me. All right. I'll keep it under 3 minutes. I know I'm in the minority on this, and then when I say minority, I'm going to be the sole vote likely when this comes to final adoption on Thursday. But I just kind of want to reiterate some of the points I made on first reading, and you know, this project, as the developer presented, talked about the kind of unparalleled community benefits. I just want to kind of break it down a little bit, and this is a huge investment in Jersey City, literally $500 million, $500 million being invested. And from my perspective, and as we had the debate on inclusionary zoning, that more affordability could certainly is warranted, I think, for the kind of density and the investment that's going to be done here at this development site. The proposal includes affordable housing, 5%, a school, public plaza, stormwater infrastructure improvements, etc. And I'm going to focus on a couple of things to talk about, which is, first of all, that affordable housing, which is at that workforce housing level. And then in our inclusionary zoning discussions, we literally talked about that and just how it didn't really address the affordable housing needs of the city of Jersey City residents. The average rent there for those affordable housing units, for those 41 units, is going to be $2,123 per unit. That's not affordable by almost anyone's standards in Jersey City. And the estimated benefit to the city that the developer puts, the financial analyst estimated, was over $13 million. My recommendation on that is, because of their lost revenue of $13 million, because they're only charging $2,123 rent when they could be charging anywhere from $2,700 to $5,700, depending on the bedroom count for these units. That's their lost rent on that. Rather than take the workforce housing units, I'd rather have $13 million in affordable housing trust fund dollars. If we got to figure out another option around that. If that's the true benefit there, the $13 million, why not take the $13 million and build affordable housing? You could even take $100,000 at the maximum per unit, which is proposed in the current inclusionary zoning ordinance, and we'd have $4.1 million as a result for affordable housing trust fund. That to me is far more preferable than, and I don't think that's a great idea or a great give back, but that'd be far more preferable than 5% workforce housing units. The other thing I'll say is that if we were to have more affordable units in this development, if we were to find our way to there, if you could just imagine the idea of whether it be 40 units of real affordable units, 80 units, 120, or maybe up to 160 if you had 20% affordable units. If you had 160 families, or even just 100 families living in that building, in a mixed income building, living in the neighborhood there, along with all of those luxury market rate residents, and their estimated 25 children, according to the fiscal impact analysis, the 25 students who would be attending that school, mixing them with those students from the new luxury units as well as the surrounding area, along with the residents from the Villa Borinque. Imagine the diversity of incomes and racial diversity you would have contained within a school, and I think that's something that we would all want to see ultimately. I voiced this before with the schools directly, and I'm going to voice it again and voice it moving forward. The idea that if we can't get the affordable units, that we open this school up for open enrollment and allow for busing and things like that to bring students from across the school and give them all equal access and opportunity to have access to this school and what it provides. And then lastly, I'll just say if one way we could also do this is through bonding. Could bond for the cost of the construction of the school, which is estimated at $25 million. And if you looked at the financials on that stuff as well, the implied land value was something in the realm of like 11 to 12 million. All of that would be $37 million in value. You couple that with the 13 million in workforce housing, and you've got close to $50 million. That could be, if you took it off the books of the developer through bonding, with the city assuming that cost, then you could do $50 million in affordable housing on that site as well. There's so many different options, and I wish we would consider it, and I would urge the administration to take another look at it. And I'm not saying to delay the project further, but to really look at that and examine that, because I think you really have an opportunity to create some true equity, and that's something that we all want to see here in Jersey City. With that, I'll conclude my comments and thank you.
Okay, let me. I know James is not here, and I know James worked on this project also. Tanya, do you have anything to add to this?
No, I mean, I believe that Councilman Navarro and myself and the developer and Mike Hanley from NW had gone back and forth through email this week. So I think we had tried to address all of the questions that did come up.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Go ahead, Sean.
Okay. And we'll have our public speakers. Any questions or comments on petitions and communications 6.1 through 6.30? Hearing none, we have one officer communication, 7.1. And we have our report of directors, 8.1 through 8.2. And we have our payment of claims, and then on to our resolutions. Okay. Item 10.1, Resolution 20-753, resolution authorizing the insertion of special items of revenue and appropriations in the city calendar year 2020 municipal budget pursuant to NJSA 48:4:87. Item 10.2, Resolution 20-754, a resolution of the Jersey City Municipal Council accepting the best practices inventory questionnaire. Item 10 point, if any member of the council has any questions, please stop me before I proceed. Item 10.3, Resolution 20-755, a resolution authorizing refunds due to overpayment of property tax accounts. Item 10.4, Resolution 20-756, a resolution authorizing refunds due to New Jersey Tax Court appeals on various property tax accounts. Okay. Item 10.5, sorry, Resolution 20-757, a resolution authorizing the purchasing agent to sell various motor vehicles at public auction. Item 10.6, Resolution 20-758, is a resolution fixing the dates and times for the caucuses and regular meetings of the Municipal Council for the year 2021. And council members, we're just going to make a couple of changes to the whereas. We're consolidating the whereas. I worked with John Hallen and my deputy in the office, and we're going to consolidate some of the whereas to make it a little shorter, but to the point. Any questions or comments on the schedule of meetings? Okay, hearing none. Item 10.7, Resolution 20-759 is a resolution to adopt the inclusionary zoning payment in lieu of creating affordable housing map for Chapter 187 inclusionary zoning for the 2021 calendar year. Any questions? If you have any questions, just stop me, okay? Item 10.8, Resolution 20-760 is a resolution appointing Darrell G. Laval as a member of the Jersey City Alcoholic Beverage Control Board. Item 10.9, Resolution 20-761 is a resolution honoring the life of Anna Mae Ross. Item 10.10, Resolution 20-762 is a resolution establishing a new petty cash fund for the Department of Housing, Economic Development and Commerce, Division of Affordable Housing. Item 10.11, Resolution 20-763 is a resolution authorizing the execution of a license agreement with the Jersey City Moms Meetup Group, allowing for the use of Block 12904, Lot 1, 280 Grove Street, City Hall, for the purpose of gardening. Item 10.12, Resolution 20-764, resolution authorizing the execution of a mortgage subordination agreement affecting the property known as 337 Pearsall Avenue, also known as Block 27902, Lot 43, formerly known as Block 1258, Lot 1B.99. Item 10.13, Resolution 20-765 is a resolution authorizing the renewal of a license agreement with Riverview Neighborhood Association to allow for the continuation of the temporary bee colony in the community garden located at 285 Ogden Avenue, Block 3002, Lot 2. Item 10.14, Resolution 20-766 is a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City authorizing the award of a contract to Sidewalks LLC for technical assistance with the city's CARES Act program implementation.
I have a question on this.
Yep.
I'm having technical difficulties again. No, actually, maybe it's just loaded up. This was put out to. This went out as a. How was this bid out and selected? Informal solicitation.
Right? It was informal. Yeah, so under the additional guidance given to cities and government agencies because of the CARES Act and the state of emergency declared in the state of New Jersey, we don't have to go through the traditional purchasing procedures and process for coronavirus-related contracts. So this falls under that.
Right. And how many other grantees did you identify for this? I mean, awardees or potential vendors, I should say.
So, Councilman, just to remind you, this consultant was with my office through the development of our consolidated plan and our annual action plans and the requirements that we did throughout the year. Prior to that, I had solicited 4 other proposals before onboarding with Civitas. So since the adoption of CARES and the complexities of the grant programs and the amendments that you guys have seen, I decided to continue the relationship to help us carry out the compliance efforts under CARES.
Okay, my apologies. Actually, I was thinking of another one, another resolution. My apologies. Moving on. Thanks.
Okay. Item 10.15, Resolution 20-767 is a resolution of the City of Jersey City authorizing a shared service agreement with the Jersey City Redevelopment Agency. Item 10.16, Resolution 20-768 is a resolution ratifying emergency contract award to Red Rabbit LLC to provide prepared meals to food insecure Jersey City residents as a part of the Jersey City's ongoing response to the coronavirus epidemic. Item 10.17, Resolution 20-769, a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to local government for Sustainability USA, Inc. to provide writing, analysis, modeling, and graphic design for Jersey City's Energy and Climate Action Plan for the Office of the Business Administrator.
So this one was, I think this is the one I was looking at. Was this there four vendors considered? And
hello, Councilman. There were 3 vendors that were looked at. Yes, we did end up going with the one that was the least expensive.
Was it just strictly a cost?
No, they were actually the best choice, just because they have the most familiarity with Jersey City at this point, because we work with ICLEI, and they're a nonprofit that assists governments around the country. So we kind of will receive, I think, even more value from that. Perhaps that's why their price was lower, because they have so much experience in this particular area.
Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Item 10.18, Resolution 20-770 is a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City urging the New Jersey State Legislature to enact legislation increasing the penalty for parking within 10 feet of a fire hydrant in violation of NJSA 39:4-138.
Any questions, council members? I'm sorry, just if I may, Council President, myself and Councilman Bogiano introducing this resolution. A number of residents have asked us to look into addressing increasing penalties for fire hydrants. It turns out it's state statutes, and there's no local code around this, so it's just a simple resolution urging the state legislature to look into that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Item 10.19, Resolution 20-771. It's a resolution authorizing the City of Jersey City Environmental Commission to accept the grant award from the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commission, 2020 Open Space Stewardship Project Grant. Item 10.20, Resolution 20-772 is a resolution authorizing the renewal of an open-end contract with Cintas Corporation for the rental of uniforms for the Department of Public Works through U.S. Communities Government Purchasing Alliance. Item 10.21, Resolution 20-773 is a resolution ratifying an award of an emergency contract award to Blue Track Inc. for the purchase and delivery of adult surgical level 3 masks due to COVID-19 for residents throughout the city for the Department of Administration Division of Innovation Team.
Can I ask some questions about this?
Sure.
Around to discuss this?
Yeah, Melissa's here.
Melissa. These masks that required, do you have a sample that you can share with us visually on screen, or?
Yeah, Let me pull it up. They're just a standard 3-ply surgical mask, but they do have a stamp, a Jersey City, a Mask Up JC stamp. That, Brian, don't trick everybody. That's not the one that Brian is wearing. The ones that are going out in the mail and that this resolution is addressing are surgical masks.
It's like the 3-ply mask, you're saying?
3-ply mask,
correct.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you have a sample to show?
Yeah, I'm trying to get it. Just 1 second.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not
I think
rushing.
it's just to this. Hopefully, let's see if I can. Hello. Let me just. Can I just share it with the council? Does that work?
Yeah.
You want to? Yeah, we'll email everyone a picture or an image after.
That's fine. Great. Okay.
Okay.
So I just wanted to make a comment because I'm glad to see this happening. I think this is a good initiative. I still recall, and so I think it's a move in the right direction with the second wave. And I still recall back on April 4th, I literally had just been out of the hospital after going through COVID at the Jersey Medical Center and being in that those COVID updates and talking about the idea of getting a mask to everybody in Jersey City. And that's provided some sourcing for some vendors potentially who could provide a mask. And I sent an email to the director Shea and Director Flanagan at the time, and literally I remember the reply there was that not being too enthusiastic about it at the time and suggesting that that if we were to give a mask to everybody, that we would just be encouraging hoarding and profiteering. And I'm quoting from the email that was sent to me. So I'm guessing that the administration's position now has changed and that we're not concerned about hoarding and profiteering. I never was terribly concerned about hoarding and profiteering at the time. I just thought that it was a good idea to save lives, but I'm glad that around that. But if you could just speak to that, and because again, that was on April 4th from Director Shea at the time.
I'd like to address that because you used my name in that email, and that is not something that I wrote. So
I didn't say you wrote it. I said Jim Shea wrote it.
Okay, go ahead. All right. Go ahead, Stacy.
Process. We've been handing out masks to the public and to businesses throughout the city since day one. Once we had enough, the first people that we gave them to were to hospitals. And then we started giving them out to nonprofit organizations, and then as businesses opened. So we have given out nearly 300,000 masks across the city. At the time, we didn't have enough masks to start giving them out publicly. And since the Business Administrator's Office is managing the grant fund for CARES Act, this discussion has been ongoing. So in the beginning, we didn't have the money dedicated to be able to do that. We didn't have a budget passed by the council. And so this is why we're here.
That's what
now.
Contracts are for, right? So.
One of the important things to stress about that time was it was almost impossible to get large quantities of masks. We were reaching out to vendors from all over the country, all over the world even, and everyone promised but couldn't deliver at the time. So supply chain was a serious challenge for us. And just to reiterate that now it's a lot easier to find masks. Delivery times are reasonable. Cost of the mask is half of what it was back in April. I think even less than that at this point. So the market dynamics have changed. We were, as Stacy said, focusing on those most in need and trying to get them to certain groups as quickly as we could.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're not concerned about hoarding or profiteering at this point.
Right.
No.
All right.
So it's a good thing that everybody get a mask. So let's move on from here.
I concur 1,000%. I think I'm the one who proposed the mask.
It's also important to note that we are not only giving out masks, there's an awareness campaign as well that we're doing. You're going to see a lot of posts on social media. You're going to see signs all over the city through a lot of different communication channels. It also includes enhanced enforcement, which is of course an issue. It's one thing to give everyone a mask. It's another to make sure that they're wearing it. Just wanted to make sure everyone is aware of those other components of it.
Okay.
And is one component ensuring that all of our personnel in the city are wearing masks?
Yep.
Specifically, I'm speaking, if I may, just speaking about public safety personnel, I mean, I was literally over the weekend and saw police officers without masks, wearing masks, and love our officers, but they got to wear those masks, right? They got to model the behavior. It's
Yeah.
And I hear the comment all the time from residents, and I know other townspeople have heard it as well. That it's all over. It's on social media as well. People talk about it all the time. That we need to model the behavior that we're asking people to comply with.
Yep, we've reiterated our policy that requires all employees to wear masks at all times, and we're making sure that there's compliance and enforcement internally as well. Absolutely.
That's great.
All right, let's mask up.
Mask up.
Okay, let's go.
For what it's worth, council people, we'll be circling back within the next week or so to talk to you about your assistance with getting some of the cloth masks out there. We have ordered lots and lots of cloth masks as well, which we'll be looking to you guys for guidance on how you want those distributed.
Thank you. Okay.
Item 10.22, Resolution 20-774, a resolution ratifying an access agreement with Dixon Advisory USA, Inc. to enter onto property at 60 Dwight Street in connection with the restoration of the brick facade of the firehouse at 468 Ocean Avenue. Item 10.23, Resolution 20-775, a resolution authorizing the Department of Recreation to apply and accept funds from the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs under the fiscal year 2021 Recreational Opportunities for Individuals with Disabilities Grant Program. Item 10.24, Resolution 20-776 is a resolution to authorize the submission of grant application to the New Jersey Department of Transportation for fiscal year 2020 Transportation Alternatives Set Aside Program. Item 10.25, Resolution 20-777 is a resolution authorizing an award of a contract at Hannon Floor Covering to prep the existing lower level floor and install tiles in the City Hall basement under state contract for the Department of Public Works. Item 10.26, Resolution 20-778 is a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to White Rock Corporation for 394 Central Avenue, new roof, project number 2019-010 for the Department of Administration, Division of Architecture. Item 10.27, Resolution 20-779 is a resolution authorizing the renewal of an open-end contract with Lombardi Door Sales and Services Corporation for the repair and maintenance of the motorized overhead doors for the Department of Public Works, Division of Building, Streets, and Maintenance. Item 10.28, Resolution 20-780 is a resolution authorizing the award of an open-ed contract with Continental Hardware to provide hardware supplies for the Department of Public Works, Division of Building and Street Maintenance. Item 10.29, Resolution 20-781, a resolution authorizing the award of an open-ed contract with Duncan Hardware, Inc. for plumbing supplies for the Department of Public Works, Division of Building and Street Maintenance. Item 10.30, Resolution 20-782 is a resolution authorizing professional service agreement with Joseph F. Popovich to assist the Municipal Council Committee on Parking for the Disabled for the Department of Administration, Division of Engineering, Traffic, and Transportation. Item 10.31, Resolution 20-783 is a resolution to award a contract to Hunter Research, Inc. for professional services to conduct a Phase 1 historical architectural survey for Ward D.
Can someone speak to that?
Yeah. So I assume that many of you remember, or I'm sure you don't, because you deal with a lot of ordinances already, but we do our demos and our determination of significances, and the first thing that we look at are our surveys, our historical surveys citywide. The last time a survey was done was probably in the 80s. Obviously, a survey was done for Westburg and Lincoln Park. This will not be as deep of a survey, but it is just only really to update the survey log that we have right now. It is not to turn anything into an historic district. That's not what this is for. This is really so that we have a more accurate database for our, when we're reviewing our demos and our determination of significances. The later we might be coming back with something for Sherman Avenue, but that's something very much separate and led by the community. This is very distinct, and it is only so that we have more accurate information at our hands for the demolitions.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, Sean.
Okay, item 10.32, resolution 20-784. A resolution ratifying the award of a contract to Hunter Research, Inc. for professional consulting services for the historic preservation, review and completion of demolition and determination of significance applications. Item.
Can I speak to that one?
Go ahead.
Sorry. So to Tanya, for both these contracts, then in terms of the cost recouping here, are we passing this on to the folks who are looking to apply for demolition permits and so forth? Is that
right, so this is interesting, and this is probably something you won't be seeing out of this office very frequently or at all after this. We have definitely hired a consultant to help us with the workload. Unfortunately, in the midst of COVID, we did lose an employee, and that employee was one of our historic preservation assistants. And so the backlog has just been really kind of intense. I believe that, I don't know if I said this at the last year's budget time, but we did about 1,000 applications in HPC alone. And so really we're just hiring this consultant services. We did reach out to 3 different consulting services just to help us out actually till the end of the year. And hopefully by then we can bring on somebody to help us out a little bit more in historic and rebuild that division. But this is the cost going back on. This is a part of the consulting line item within my budget.
okay?
All right. Thank you.
Okay, item 10.33, resolution 20-785 is a resolution ratifying the award of a contract to Auto Group for professional services to conduct fiscal analysis for the redevelopment plan amendment application.
Is the Auto Group here?
They are not.
Okay, can you just speak to what their the substance of their fiscal analysis?
This is the beginning of the divorce. NW, who has up to this date given you all your fiscal analysis, you are getting them back, and they will just be doing what they got hired to do originally, which I assume is really just bond and pilots and all of those other things that they were originally doing. They will no longer be giving you those fiscal analysis reports. We are taking on that cost, and then probably next year, the Division of Affordable Housing will be taking on that cost. And this is what you see written into the inclusionary zoning ordinance, where we ask that person who is challenging the requirement for 20% on site to pay $5,000 for the fiscal analysis.
Did the Auto Group provide like a sample type of report or something, some sort of sample of their product, or that we could
so they did. I can send it to you. We had a lot of back and forth. I will say that the majority of their clients are private, and they give them much more thorough reports than what we will probably be getting or what we really need. So I can email. I'll email that to Brian, and Brian can send it out to the rest of you. Is that the best way to do that?
That's good.
Okay.
Brian, you can email it to Desiree, and she can distribute it to the council.
Sure thing.
Okay.
I just want to bring up one other thing, Tanya, with to communicate with the Auto Group, and happy to communicate to them myself directly as well, is that and I should have brought this up with the Laurel and Saddlewood redevelopment plan, but something that occurred to me in reviewing kind of the financials from that and the memo, as well as other fiscal analyses, is that what we never factor in, and or has never been factored in by the current financial consultant, is the tax the tax break or the tax exemption that the developer gets for certain community benefits. I can only imagine how substantial that is, and as far as I can tell, it doesn't seem to get factored into their benefit, right? That, like, we try to calculate what their profit is and analyze it against the community benefit and so forth. But that is part of theirs, and in the case of like Laurel and Saddlewood, they're going to be seeing 2 public capital projects that will be turned over and essentially donated to the city and to the schools. That's going to come close to like $60 million, right? That's I'm assuming that's I'm not an accountant, but I'm sure there's some sort of tax write-off, and that's financially very profitable for them at some level. That we're not taking into account, and so I'd ask that the auto group be able to address that as well as part of their fiscal analyses.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Sean.
Okay. Item 10.34, Resolution 20-786 is a resolution authorizing the settlement of the action entitled Joe Candelara versus Sharir D. Lewis, Black Crown LLC, John P. Kelly Jr., City of Jersey City of the Jersey City Fire Department, HUD-L-3218-18.
Mr. Clerk, if I may, for this item 34 as well as 35 and 37, memos were circulated to the council. If you have any questions about anything relating to these matters, I can address those with you offline.
Okay.
Okay. Item 10.35, Resolution 20-787 is a resolution ratifying the award of a professional service agreement with Brady Greenan.
Brady Greenan.
Sorry about that. LLC. Thanks, Peter. To represent former Chief of Police Philip Zaki in a matter of Kelly Chesler versus the City of Jersey City. Item 10.36.
Sorry, Peter, did you say the memo was circulated about that one?
No, that's this is a professional services agreement. There's no confidential memo discussing the facts around that.
Because you mentioned 3, so it was 34, 37. What was the third one?
34, 30. I apologize. 34, 36, and 37. If I misspoke, I apologize.
All right. I'm sorry. Continue. I'm sorry.
Resolution, item number 10.36, Resolution 20-788 is a resolution authorizing the settlement of Kelly Chesler versus the City of Jersey City. Docket number HUD 1-4722-18. Item 10.37, resolution.
Can I just ask, do 35 and 36 emanate from the same, I mean, they're the same names, but the same incident?
No, they do not. I did just about a half hour before the meeting, you may not have seen it, the memorandum on item 10.36 was circulated. That stems from reimbursement for council fees arising from a previous trial for which the city by state law owed reimbursement on council fees to the plaintiff in that matter.
So they're 2 separate matters, 35 and 36.
Correct. It involves the same individual, but they are 2 separate legal matters that arise out of separate sets of facts.
Okay. Council President, can we have a closed session on 35, 36?
Okay, I'll discuss that with you offline, Peter.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Item 10.37, excuse me, Resolution 20-789 is a resolution authorizing the settlement of the action entitled Cali Harbor South Pier Urban Renewal LP versus the City of Jersey City, docket number HUD-L-1758-18. And item number 10.38, Resolution 20-790, is a resolution expressing the support and requesting that the state of New Jersey pass bill number S, as in Sam, 1034, the Compassion of Community Cats Act. This is a late item, so this will be the only item that we will need to take a vote on to add to the agenda at Thursday's meeting. And if we are adding a closed session resolution to this meeting, if you can just give me a heads up on the date and time when we're planning on holding the closed session.
Okay.
All righty. Is there anything? Oh, and then we're going to have our presentation by the MUA Council President.
Yes.
Hey, Joe Cunha, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Joe, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce the rest of your team and some of the other outside agencies that you have here to speak and address the City Council.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Thank you, Council. Please inform me if I chop in and out because I was hearing some choppiness earlier. So tonight we'd like to just quickly brief you on the long-term control plan, which involves our entire combined sewage overflows and the combined sewage system as a whole, and some of the things that we are going to be required to do over the next decade plus. But more importantly, the ultimate goal here is to try to come to a agreement with Passaic Valley Sewerage Commission as our sponsoring authority, to join together with the other CSO communities and try to minimize our burden, our financial burden. So with me tonight, I have John Manette, Mark Delbove, and Jerry Spiesbach, all of Arcadis. They are our engineering consultants who have prepared a parsed down version of a very, very technically detailed PowerPoint presentation. You're about to see some very large figures. As of right now, the gist of this is, if we were to go about this alone, we'd probably be spending somewhere between 200 million to 250 million more than if we were to be able to negotiate amongst ourselves under the purview of Passaic Valley as the overall sponsor to come to an agreement on cost shares. Again, that estimate you'll see at the end of this presentation is to the tune of potential savings of $200 to $250 million overall. So without any further ado, I'd like to pass it on to, I believe John Manette will be leading the presentation here.
John, this is Mark Delbove, everyone. Good evening. Glad to be with you. I'll provide just a brief intro to John Manette. Thank you, Joe, very much for that introduction. I'm Mark Delbove. I'm the project manager for Arcadis. I've been involved with Jersey City for many years.
Mark?
Yes.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Can we turn your camera on, Mark?
I thought my camera was on.
Yeah, I can see him, Sean.
You can see him?
Yeah, I can see him.
Okay, very good. I just couldn't see him on the preview. No problem. I apologize, Mark. Continue.
Okay. No problem. So thank you, Joe, for that. So just by way of brief introduction, so this plan that Joe was talking about is really the culmination of a multi-year program to address New Jersey DEP requirements to reduce combined sewer overflows. And I don't want to presume that everybody here tonight knows what a combined sewer overflow is. So let me just start off by saying, so Jersey City has predominantly a combined sewer system. What that means is both sanitary and storm flow goes to the treatment plant in a one-pipe system. Normally that flow goes to Passaic Valley Sewage Commission, as Joe mentioned, for treatment. But during heavy rains, some flow that exceeds the capacity of the sewer system is discharged to the local waterways. It never makes it to PVSC. So it is these overflows, according to New Jersey DEP, that need to be addressed and further controlled. Hence the need to develop a long-term control plan. So that's just a simple introduction. And with that as background, I would like to introduce John Manette, who's going to walk you through the brief presentation that we have prepared. John, over to you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is John Manette. I work with Caucus and have been working in Jersey City since 1993 on various projects. I've been working for the past 5 years on this long-term control plan for Jersey City and the JCMUA, and we'll get started. Does everyone see my screen?
Yes, John.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. What we'll be doing here is giving you an overview of the combined sewer system and the long-term control plan reporting process. The goal of the Jersey City long-term control plan is to capture 85% of the volume that is discharged, and this has been a common theme throughout the other municipalities in the country as well. And then we'll be giving you an overview of the selected long-term control plan, its costs, the schedule, and its locations. So an overview of the Jersey City system is your population is about 271,000, got about 230 miles of pipe, combined sewer, and 90% of your sewer system is over 88 to 131 years old. And you have 21 combined sewer overflows around the periphery of the city, discharging into the various waters shown in the list below. Under normal conditions during dry weather, it's pumped over to PVSC and everything is treated. As Mark indicated, when we get wet weather events, there are overflows at each of the outfalls which go into the rivers noted on the screen. And just to give you an overview of what we've been doing for the last 5 years on this plan is here's a list of everything that has been submitted to DEP and is publicly available upon request. As a part of COVID-19, the last part of the long-term control plan was this selected and implementation of alternatives report. It was originally due June of this year, but as a result of COVID, the DEP was kind enough to give us an extension until 10/1/2020, so it was recently submitted. And in this plan, we went through a series of alternatives where we developed different alternatives to capture the 85% of the volume of the CSOs. And the technologies that we used to do this were those that involved source control, collection systems control, and storage control technologies. You'll notice that treatment technologies are basically crossed off because in 2007 we looked at them and found out that they were far more expensive than the other storage technologies, which involve storing this flow and then pumping it over a longer period to Passaic Valley for treatment. And this is to outline the initial part of the long-term control plan is going to be focusing on controls at the source to reduce the runoff into the system, and also with collection system controls, where we're going to focus on collecting inflow and infiltration that is in the sewer systems. And here are the elements of the municipal selected plan. And we'll be talking about both a municipal selected plan and a regional selected plan tonight. So here you see the entire municipal selected plan, which is going to focus, like we had said, on I&I control, green infrastructure, and about 5 storage tanks. There'll be a sewer separation project as well by Bates. So you can see the capital costs that are shown for each of these projects, these 8 projects, and there are some land costs associated with them. Please note that the overall life cycle cost does not include the land costs. for reasons that were used in the regional control plan. And annual costs for each of these projects is also shown.
John, if I could just interject for a moment, and that would be under the green infrastructure. That is also a source reduction, and everyone seems to be thinking about green infrastructure. Those are things such as bioswales, permeable pavements, et cetera, and so forth that developers could put in. But the real only thought I wanted to build on here that John was about to talk about is that the EPA, DEP required all of the systems that need to prepare long-term control plans to investigate and evaluate green infrastructure. And I just wanted to make sure that the Jersey City Council members are aware that that is something we have evaluated and it's recognized here in the plan. Sorry, John, go ahead.
No problem. Okay. We thought we would give you a comparison of different long-term control plans within the EPA regions. We are in Region 2 in New Jersey, and everything from Washington, D.C. up to Philadelphia and into Pennsylvania is Region 3, and we have that in New York City. And you can see that based upon the approved plans here, we're basically running right about in the middle of the road as far as costs. What we're showing in the far left are the household costs over 20 years. These are average household cost increases to their existing bill, which would be shown. And again, we're in the middle of the road. So $225 per year is what is anticipated for each household in Jersey City to be, for their bill to be raised. And now, like I said, this is to increase. This would be on top of the $406 of average cost that it currently happens. So it'd be a total of $630, which is a typical cost in many communities.
And John, that reflects the costs associated with the municipal only plan, because as Joe mentioned at the inception, the regional plan does have the potential for cost savings, and you would find that those per household costs would also go down proportionately if Jersey City were to opt for the regional plan with PVSC.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And coming back to the selected plan, we said this is the municipal plan. Okay, now what our goal is in the regional plan is to focus on only these first 5 projects, would substantially reduce the amount of cost, and that previous slide would then be reduced as well. So now we'll be talking about the regional costs and how much. Oops, sorry. The regional long-term control plan in Jersey City does stand to save a significant amount of money by combining our efforts with the other 8 permittees in, PVSA Bayonne, North Bergen, Newark, and potentially Patterson. I did say 8. Some of them have opted not to participate in the regional plan, and so that's their choice. And but we have the potential of making a good partnership with these folks in their plan. And if a successful regional plan were implemented, it can reduce the capital costs from $645 million to $395 up to $422 million, which is a savings of, as Joe Kuna said, $200 million to $250 million in capital costs alone. There are also additional savings that have been gained by PVSC in terms of operational costs. And here, you want to know when things will be taking place. Well, you'll notice that a number of projects that Rich Hadis and the JCMUA have been working on are the I&I control projects, where sewer rehabilitation has been taking place throughout the city, and that will be continuing on up through 2026 on different projects. And what we're showing here is the schedule for the regional plan only and not the municipal plan. If a regional plan can be made, then we would go on for the next 20 years. However, if for some reason the regional plan could not take place, then we would do the rest of the projects over a period of 30 years. That is what's currently being proposed at New Jersey DEP. And with that, that concludes my presentation. So
We'll be happy to take any questions if anybody has any at this time.
Okay, council.
Is there, going back to the green infrastructure and the municipal plan, is there like it's required by DEP? Is it DEP?
Yes.
And are there minimum requirements here, or is it just do they provide any guidance as to what the minimum requirements are? I guess in that sense.
No, there were no minimum requirements or anything. We modeled ours basically after New York City's and did a little bit more simply because the acreage worked out. New York City is shooting for about a 5% of their control of their impervious area of 5%. Impervious area being, anything where water cannot penetrate naturally into the groundwater and such. And so,
we've been emphasizing that, wherever possible, we would urge, and I know you folks are doing a great job on that, is that any developer that comes along basically implements any green infrastructure that he can as part of his new project. And the city of Jersey City would actually receive credit for any of those projects that go forward that have a green component on that. So that's a kind of a twofer, if you will, that if the developer puts in a green infrastructure project, we get credit for it. The MUA and the city of Jersey City gets credit for it as a contribution towards their long-term control plan. The problem with the green infrastructure, Councilman, is that while you put it in, it does help in a small way. It does not contribute in a big way towards reducing the tremendous volume of overflow, because as you could imagine, we're talking, millions of gallons of overflow. So it takes a tremendous amount of green infrastructure to make a dent. But as a public outreach component, to make people aware that every drop of water, as they say, counts, and if we can eliminate that water from entering the combined sewer system, we get a credit for it. So that's the goal.
And actually, just to add another thought, we did evaluate potential green acre, green infrastructure sites, etc. With Jersey City being a very, very well-developed city, you need some available land, etc. Things like green roofs that people talk about are great because you got a lot of roofs, but that's also one of the most expensive green infrastructure technologies to integrate. The more reasonable ones are bioswales and things like that. And then there's the other considerations, such as there are areas where rock is not that far below Jersey City, so the ability of the soil to absorb that. So there are limitations from a technical standpoint, but as Mark and John have pointed out, we did want to look into that. We have significantly looked at it, and one of the initiatives from the Jersey City MUA is to try and integrate some of that into future development wherever possible and take credit for it in long-term control plan.
And might I reinforce that you already all adopted the green infrastructure requirements in the flood overlay zone. So that's going to go a long way towards getting us to the full recognized potential of the green infrastructure component of this LTCP.
Mm-hmm.
May I follow up on that, Council President?
Sure.
So, I in one of your previous slides, you had other cities, including Philadelphia. It's my understanding that Philly did a considerable amount of green infrastructure. And if you could speak to that, if you're familiar with it and what the percentage is there, you said 5% here, similar to New York City. But I also understand that as a result of that they were able to reduce their overall cost of their plan. and don't quote me on this, I'm just working off memory, but like by half, if not more, as a result of using green infrastructure because of how cost effective it is, I guess, in that sense. And I know that you said the roofs are expensive, but I guess that some of the other technologies or methods are far more cost effective. So if you could just speak to that and let.
Sure. John, you want to bring that
Yes.
slide up also while we're answering the question would be good. Because you showed an actual capital cost number, the one with the comparison.
Okay.
But John,
Yes.
you can answer that
You can
question.
start answering, but you can
Yeah.
answer the question, but it would be good because you have the comparison.
I think gentlemen, I think the best way to break this down is I think it's about 92 million on that list of all of the improvements contributing to the 600 and some odd million. If there was a way to turn that into the percentage, for example, currently we capture about, I think it's 58% of combined sewage overflows. We need to get to 85. In that delta between the 85 and 58, what percentage did we account for in that 92 million for that green infrastructure would get us?
It gets you a couple.
You have that.
It gets you a couple
of points, correct?
Yes.
That's correct, Joe. A couple of percentage points.
Couple points.
So to Marcel Bogue's point, yes, it can be a cost-effective way if it works and if it's enough to put a dent in the volume. I don't exactly know why Philadelphia's cut, and I would find it hard to believe 50%. But in our case, the flows, and I don't know if the states are, the state DEPs are different requirements. I know ours are getting much more stringent come March of 2021. But that being said, it's a simple calculation at that point. 2 percentage points for $92 million. And the rest you could calculate out and just see comparatively how much each cost compared to each other. Maybe we could prepare a list of the other percentages by implemented process, you know, green infrastructure, gray infrastructure, things like that, and compare so that you can actually see the per unit cost, if you will. Percentage point equals this many million per, you know what I mean?
Yeah. We could
But
do
to address
that.
Philadelphia, yes, Philadelphia's plan was to do it by green infrastructure, but what they found is that they cannot get the 30% that what their goal was. So they will have to do the technologies that we've also had in our long-term control plan as well in order to reach their goal. So in other words, they're not going to be able to achieve the goal that they had hoped. So they will have to do additional in addition to the 177 per household or the 1.6 billion of what they're doing.
So it's safe to say they had a goal of a certain percentage of green infrastructure contributing to their plan, and it's unfortunate, but it's going to fall very short of what their initial intention was.
Correct.
For that green infrastructure. And to make up the difference, Councilman, they're going to have to integrate some other technologies, whether it be additional sewer separation or treatment or even additional storage. But they were optimistic in their first go.
Sorry, Jerry. The one upside I do want to reiterate is that by these progressive green infrastructure requirements that you all have enacted, that will significantly, hopefully, significantly offset the 92 million estimate via private development paying for it. I just want to reiterate that as well, because the 92 million was based on us controlling about 7% of the impervious area, as mentioned before, which is basically your roads and sidewalks in the right-of-way, basically your right-of-ways. And again, as we all know, developers are encouraged to add the green infrastructure. The JCMUA has also provided a alternative calculation for their impact fees in order to promote further green infrastructure. So I think we're really pushing ahead pretty progressively there, and hopefully that'll help. Hopefully we get more than 50% offset on that 92 million.
Okay. Someone else? Any more questions?
I have two more. That's with the municipal plan, you said that you were focusing on the first 5 strategies. Can you just speak to that a little bit more? I didn't quite follow that. Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, sure. I can take that. I can take that, Jerry. So on the municipal side, which is basically both plans, you could think of the municipal and the regional approaches as very, very similar. Obviously, the base program is to do source control, right? So that would be rehabilitate existing sewers wherever you can, sewer separation wherever you can and wherever it's cost effective. And then we start getting into the more costly portion of the program, which is to start building storage tanks underground. So the municipal plan would require a total, Councilman, of around 5 tanks. John, if I have that right.
Yes.
And the regional plan would allow Jersey City to build only 2 of those 5 tanks. Why? Because if in a regional plan, everybody has to get to 85% capture, but in the DEP's mind, they don't care where that capture occurs, as long as when you consider the region as a whole, the 85% goal is achieved. So you can see that when you team together, you can have a more a consolidated, cost-effective approach than when everybody goes alone. So the elements are essentially the same, Councilman, whether it's a municipal plan or a regional plan. Jersey City continues to do the source control, sewer separation, green infrastructure, and then some amount of storage would be required, but not 5 tanks, only 2 tanks. Okay.
And that represents the incremental savings associated with the regional plan primarily. And as Mark indicated, it's over the entire PVSC service area that you're trying to achieve their 85. So if someone is doing a great job, they can almost give Jersey City the benefit of the fact that they got to 90% capture. You might be able to reduce it to 82%, 79%, whatever under a regional plan, and still have that plan be acceptable to the regulatory agencies.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, well said, gents. Well said. And maybe I'll end with this. And correct me if I'm wrong, but if I recall correctly, Jersey City stands to save the most percentage-wise on the overall needs here going the regional route, which means the next year, which is what we have to finalize a negotiation and the interplay, because what you see in front of you is subject to change. We don't anticipate that it should change by much, but again, a negotiation is a negotiation, and we have only 1 year, or probably just under a year, to make sure we're all on the same page in the regional plan if we choose to still go with the regional plan. But I will reiterate that Jersey City stands to save the most.
Okay.
As well as Newark. I believe it's Newark and Jersey City right at the top of the list.
All right.
I believe that's correct, Joe.
Okay. Someone else? You have a question? Any other council? No.
I just have a follow-up on that again. I'm sorry. So with those tanks, though, if you got 5 tanks and then you're down to 2 tanks, and then you still achieve your goals with those 2 tanks, the areas where the 3 tanks were, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm trying to follow this. It's all new to me. So those areas where those other 3 tanks would have been, that will not be, there's still discharges and overflows and so forth, and they're not being captured, I guess.
Oh, no.
That's correct. So
Yes.
where you don't build 3 tanks,
Right.
You're correct, Councilman. You've got it. So where you don't build those 3 tanks, that is correct. Locally, the water will escape. I think John had an initial slide that showed there are 21 locations, right, where overflows do occur throughout Jersey City. And let's face it, during a major, let's say, hurricane wet weather event, I can assure you that all 21 locations will still discharge, right, under a enormous, gigantic event, some of which we've seen the likes, like, say, the poor folks from New Orleans have been subject to hurricane after hurricane this year, right? Those kind of catastrophic events require, obviously, discharge of wet weather flows. There's no treatment plant that could accept that volume of wastewater. So you are correct that if you don't build a tank in a particular area, you will get an increase in volume from that one outfall location where the tank does not get built. But the beauty of the regional plan, as I mentioned, is exactly that. What New Jersey DEP says is, as long as the region as a whole, right, gets to the 85% capture, if it's more cost effective, and I'll just use a simple analogy, right? If it's more cost effective to build that tank in Newark or Patterson than it is in Jersey City, and you get the same 85% capture, DEP is on board with that tank being built wherever, right, in order to get that 85% capture. So that's the thrust of a regional plan.
And actually what happens is in the regional plan, Newark would be building a interceptor that would absorb a lot of the flows there, and they would then be getting 92% capture in an area, in a water body that needs more of the water quality savings. So then by that, NJDEP would be finding that more acceptable
Right.
in order to get that cost. So you're paying into that plan in order for them to get the extra treatment, and then you are allowed to claim that benefit for a less cost.
Right, right. It's the advantage of it's the advantage, Councilman, of a regional wastewater treatment facility versus every 9 municipalities build their own, right? Having done a number of those, let's call it wastewater management plans, you can see how, well, if I build 9 treatment plants, right, and everybody's got the same, cost, that usually ends up being more expensive than one regional plant that everybody contributes flow to. Kind of similar to CSO as well, that under a regional plan, if you have some flexibility, you can do more with less rather than every municipality having to get to 85%, as John said. If some can more easily get to 92%, others can get by with 79%. And that's the whole beauty of a regional approach.
Yes, and Mark.
Exactly, and I'll just add this. So you might be wondering, something's got to give from somewhere, right? So 92%, we have more bang for our buck by Newark graciously allowing us to use their more bang for their buck area for a regional interceptor on the regional plan. But of course, they're at 92. We're going to be up in the high 70s. That doesn't mean we all reach 85. We just are branded with an 85 team wide. I just want to make that clear.
Correct, Joe. Correct. Good
yes.
point.
But if I understand it, then those 3 areas, so you reach your minimums through a regional plan of 85%, or a municipal plan, however you approach that. But those 3 areas where there's no storage tanks, you say that the discharge and overflow will continue. So that means that there's flooding in some part of Jersey City where those storage tanks may have alleviated that. Is that because they're not going to be there? Continued flooding.
To
so
some
it could
extent,
be
to some
The
extent,
flooding,
I would assume
the
yes.
tanks
to some extent.
will help with some flooding, but they will not address all of the flooding. Because additional conveyance is required in order to get it to the location of the tank.
And mind you, it's not as simple as that type of analysis, only because we have such a widespread phases 1 through 8 with many subphases project for the I&I, which is infiltration and illicit connections, cutting down of both. During those projects, we're enlarging a lot of the pipes too. So, and that's spread out throughout the entire city. That's the only reason why I want to be sure that everyone knows. It's not as fair to say that those specific areas that are not getting the tanks would still experience major flooding versus other areas that are getting the tanks not experiencing the flooding. It's not necessarily true. It'd be a very widespread study to get you the exact answer on that, but it's more of a balancing and an averaging is really how it's going to happen.
Okay. Thanks, Sue. Oh, thanks a lot, guys.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
All right.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
council
Thank
members.
you. Thank you very much. Everybody have a good evening.
Have a good evening.
Go ahead,
All right.
Sean.
Does anyone else have anything to add? Because we are completely done with the agenda. And if I can just say, an early congratulations to our Ward D council member, Councilperson Saleh. We will be certifying the results once we get the okay from the county clerk. But I want to go on the record, and it was posted on the Jersey Journal and all over online. I want to congratulate you, and I am looking forward to continue to working with you until the end of the term. So congratulations.
Thank you so much, Sean. And
Congratulations.
thank you guys. Thank you so much, and thank you all for helping me. Council members, getting me up to speed really quickly on everything and wanting to see me succeed. I couldn't have, been effective without you all, and every organ of government, every department that rushed to my side to make sure that I was helping out the people of the Heights during the height of the pandemic. And you see, we have the second wave coming. And I look forward to getting us through this difficult time together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great
Okay.
job. Hard work always pays off. All right, with that being said, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
5:37 PM.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, that motion was made by Councilperson Baggiano, and it was seconded by Councilperson Prinzary. On the motion to adjourn at 5:37 PM, all council members present by acclamation, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we are out of here at 5:37 PM. Thank you so much, members of the council and the staff, for making this happen behind the scenes, and everybody involved. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. And remember, when you're out and about, please remember to mask up. Don't forget to wear that mask. Very important on the fight for this disease. All right. Take care. Have a great night. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.